How's it going, everyone? Modern Milt here, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I built these raised planter beds. So if you want to know how these were put together, tag along and let's get started. Okay, so here's where the new planter beds are going to go. Now I got to loosen up the grass here, so I got this rototiller that I'm going to use to till up the grass. I have another video of this coming very soon. So now I have to rip some deck boards down, so I'm using this skate plate from Saw Technologies, and this tool makes this job super simple. It's great for this and plywood. So now to rip these down, I just used some old sawhorses I had laying around, screwed the boards down, and I set up my skill saw up and ripped them down, unscrewed them, and I was ready to go. Next, I was setting up my saw here so I can cut all my pieces to size. Now, I'm going to be cutting down a lot of the same size pieces, so I'm using the arm on my table here to set up a jig. So I use the jig, set it up once, test it out with a tape measure, make sure it's the right dimension. Once we got it good, and we're good to cut all the boards. Now I'm cutting all the main boards for the planter as well as the top and lower rail for where the chicken wire is going to go. So once I get all these cut, I'm going to set up a little tape jig here on my saw to cut on my vertical pieces for the chicken wire section. Next step here is I'm using a pocket hole jig to drill out the holes on the vertical pieces of the chicken wire frame. Now I'm only doing one side of these vertical pieces, but I'll explain it to you in a second. So as you can see here, this jig makes this process very simple and very quick. I'm using my clamps to clamp together my top and lower portion of my frames so that I can lay out the vertical pieces of the frame. Now I'm just using a simple framing square for this layout. Next step is on those layout marks, I'm going to use the Craig jig and drill out all the holes on the top and lower portion of the frame. Now I'm doing it this way so that all the screw holes are facing downward so no water sits in them. And I'm using just some simple 2-inch deck screws here to screw everything together. Now I'll finish up these last frames, and once these are done, next step is the chicken wire. Now the chicken wire I'm going to roll out and use a hammer tacker, tack one side. Now this chicken wire is longer than the frame itself, but I'll trim that down. To cut this to length, you can use anything like tin snips, grinder, whatever, but here I just use my Olfa scissors, which are pretty strong and don't dull at the blade. Now I stretch it and hammer tack the rest down and then trim it to size. Once you're done, it should look like this on the back side. I'm not too worried about the look because you won't see this from the front face. Now I'm using the Korto Structues 28-inch planter box legs, which you can purchase online. I'll post the link in the description below. Now that everything's cut, I'm going to put everything together. So I'm going to use the 2 deck boards on the bottom, screw it into the legs with the hardware kit provided, but I won't screw the top frame, as the top frame is designed so that you could pull these out 360 all the way around so you can access the planter beds any way you want. Now with most of it assembled, I'm going to carry these into place. So I'm just going to lift them up pretty easy, very light. And I'm going to put them over the spots where I've rotor-tilled. So I'm going to place the first one here, grab the second one, put it in position, and then I'm going to kind of line it up with the hedge and my old planters. Now I'm putting the back side on, not the front, making it easier to fill the inside. So to fill the inside, I'm using some sticks. I'm just going to do a quick layer here, put some leaves down, and then some old compost, and then some grass clippings as a base. Once I got all that done, I started filling it with some potting soil that I got from my local yard. Now I used about a yard of soil to fill both planters, which was plenty enough. I wish I had a little more in there to bring up the soil a little bit more, but next year I'll top it up. Now that both these planters are leveled and up to the height that we can get this year, this project's all wrapped up. Now if you like this project, you may want to check out my page to see videos like this, or hit the subscribe and help me out in the long run. Thanks for watching.